Welcome back, Shalligators. Well, I know I promised you guys a video about A-Rod and J-Lo being back together today, but we're gonna wait until tomorrow because there's a breakup that I feel like we need to discuss a little bit sooner. Saweetie and Quavo. These two have been together for 2 years. I didn't know they were together that long. I didn't know that much about them. And things have ended and neither one of them are going gently into that good night. They're both airing a little bit of dirty laundry, cryptically of course, on Twitter. We're gonna break down what's going on because one thing that Saweetie said really stuck out to me. She said, presents don't band-aid scars and the love isn't real when the intimacy is given to other women. And it got me to thinking about emotional affairs. We all know what actual physical sexual cheating looks like, but we might not be as aware or in touch with emotional cheating, or if we are, we don't know how to fix it. We don't know why it happens. Why is he so close with that coworker? Why is he DMing his ex all the time? I'm gonna break down what drives emotional infidelity and the 4 or 5 steps you can take to get past it. And when actually, there's no getting past it at all. But before we get started, just a reminder, sign up for Flaze. It's our uncensored ad-free platform. We've got videos up there from BJ tips to Evil Week, story times about how to make friends, how to get over an ex, what happened when I saw my ultimate crazy ex. Also, if you want a little one-on-one advice from me, head to my website, shallonlester.com and click submit a question. I love connecting with you guys and I think I give you pretty good advice. Or if you want a little video shout out, head to Cameo and find me over there. It's a great pep talk for a friend, birthday gift, anything like that. So Quavo and Saweetie. Do you know Saweetie's real first name is Diamante? Like diamond? Diamante. Why would you not go by that name? That's the sickest name in the world. You know, it's like Iggy Azalea. I hate the name Iggy. It's just, I get that it's like her porn star name. It's like her dog's name and her street name. Like, okay, her real name is Amethyst Tate. Amethyst. Girl. What are you doing? That's a sick name. Quavo's it's something like Quavo. Quavarius? I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. These are two very intelligent people, right? Saweetie's college educated. She has her Icy University series on YouTube, which is really cute. Like, she's very much like alpha female. She's got this reputation for like hitting it and quitting it with like very high profile dudes. Michael B. Jordan. That guy gets around. He gets around. Also, Lori Harvey. What does she do in bed? We got to figure this out. Our next book club selection is going to be a book by her dad, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, because clearly Lori knows something that the rest of us don't. We're going to find it out. Anyway, so things have devolved between these two. So this is what Saweetie posted to kind of announce their breakup. She wrote on Twitter, I'm single. I've endured too much betrayal and hurt behind the scenes for a false narrative to be circulating that degrades my character. Presents don't band-aid scars. You don't put a band-aid on a scar. I'm not trying to get nitpicky. And the love isn't real when the intimacy is given to other women. I emotionally checked out a long time ago and have walked away with a deep sense of peace and freedom, excited for this new chapter of elevation. Very eloquent. Quavo, like I said, did not go gently into this good night. He fired back on Twitter. I love how this shit all plays out on Twitter. It's like, can any of you guys just buy a fucking diary? I know you want to make this into a show, so I'll play my part just this one time. I don't normally put my business out there, especially my personal life. I feel the need to address this so there are no false narratives. I love when I'm addressing this. It's like, addressing what? You're not actually addressing anything. It's just a large preamble that goes nowhere. I had love for you and disappointed you did all that. Did all what? You were not the woman I thought you were. Why? I wish you nothing but the best. Is there anything more annoying than someone who's like, you're a piece of shit, but you know what? I wish you the best. Just end it after piece of shit. Don't plague me. I wish you the best. Is that so you can feel like a good person after you just insulted me? I don't even know what he's trying to say. It's like, what did she do? What's the false narrative? Do you have anything to say besides it's a false narrative? Why are they both using the term false narrative? False narrative, false narrative. It's just like, come out and say it. It's like, I hate it when people speak on things in a cryptic way. Just speak on it. Stop subtweeting. Like, I didn't cheat on her. He cheated on me constantly. I feel like Saweetie was like saying more things and him just being like, false narrative. Fucking prove it. Okay, Quavo. I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to imagine that a rapper who is friends with Offset, who cheats, might not be the most faithful choice. Any sort of musician, not faithful. Any sort of athlete, also usually not faithful. Any sort of human bipedal man who walks upright and the day of the week ends in Y. difficulty with faithfulness sometimes, right? We know this. But like I said, the part that stood out to me is actually twofold. The part about intimacy given to other women, and then presents don't band-aid scars. We've talked before, when we talked about Kylie and Travis, about how big grand gestures are a fuckboy's favorite method of control, right? A big grand gesture, cars, bags, flowers. Do you know how little that means when you're rich? It's like ordering, if you're poor, it's like ordering jalapeno poppers. Well, I don't know, Crystal, I got you some fucking jalapeno poppers. I'm sorry I let your cousin suck my dick. What you want from me? If you put it in that context, it's like, Crystal, don't take him back, girl, right? So I've always thought that people who have these big demonstrative relationships, it's hiding something else. It's a guy who's going to be shitty, 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 big bouquet of flowers, shitty, shitty, shitty. I will never forget. When I first moved to New York, I was like 22, and I dated just the worst guy. Worst. Jason was awful. I wrote about him in my book, and I literally put his like full name. Like, you don't like it? Don't cheat on a writer then, I guess, huh? And he just tortured me for like months. And like at the end, he ended up giving me flowers, like begging me to take him back, giving me flowers. And one of my friends was like, if I told you 6 months ago, you're going to be in a toxic relationship, you're going to be crying and miserable many days out of the week, cheated on, insulted, but at the end of the 6 months, you will get 12 flowers from a bodega. You will get 12 bodega roses. How does that sound? You wouldn't take that deal, right? I don't know if many of us have put a price tag on our future, our integrity, our sense of self-worth. Some women do. And you know, whatever, I can't knock the hustle. They're like, it's worth a Maybach. It's worth a Birkin. It's worth a bunch of fucking roses around my house to spell out Kylie. Okay, I don't feel like that. I can buy those things, you know, for myself. Maybe not the Maybach, but we'll get there, and I'll get there on my own. So I think, once again, we were right that the big, big gestures can hide very shitty relationships because they're bamboozling, you know, they're bamboozling. When a guy does things like this, you're like, well, I guess he cares. Again, if you're rich, it's like, sunflowers. Doesn't take that much. But moreover, the thing about intimacy given to other women, Saweetie's a smart woman. If she had meant sex, I bet she would have said that. I read that tweet and I'm like, I don't think she means sex. I think she means emotional intimacy. I think what went on behind the scenes, I mean, I'm sure he physically cheated on her too, but I think the part that hurt her was some sort of aspect of emotional infidelity, right? And man, so many of us have been there. And I don't just mean we've been on the receiving end. We've been doing it to people too. We've been doing it to people. Men are more likely to cheat physically. Women are more likely to cheat emotionally. And it's tricky because it's a very fine line between genuinely having a friend at work. It's like, well, I'm sorry. Am I supposed to not talk to anyone at work? I get along with Tyler. We collaborate on projects. Yeah, we talk about our life. He's cute. So what? And then that slippery slope of this is emotional infidelity. You can make the argument that like, what even is emotional infidelity? Like, get over it. It means people can't have friends. They can't bond with someone else of the other sex. They can't just flirt a little bit, you know, and keep their claws a little sharp and fantasize. God, it's no one's fucking business what I fantasize about. Those are really, really valid points. But there are certain behaviors that tip it from healthy, normal, hey, I don't have blinders on for my boyfriend or my husband, into emotional cheating. And the big hallmark of that is I bitch about my partner to this other dude. That is the big thing. I bitch about, you know what? And he was doing this. You want to bitch about your partner? Great. Do it to your female friends. Do it to a therapist. Bring your bitch ass partner there. Let him hear it. Don't do it with a person of the opposite sex because this becomes a slippery slope. What you have now is bonding. You have secrets being given. And when we tell someone something personal, there's trust there and there's that reciprocity. There's like this emotional tension between you two, right? You feel bonded with a girlfriend. You're like, you open up about your dad or whatever it might be. And then this tips into the other behaviors. Sexual fantasizing. What's going on in there? Sexual fantasizing. Oh boy, I feel like I'm having a stroke. Because we all know, all crimes start as thoughts. No one wakes up and they're like, dick in my mouth. It starts with, I could just see us like, and it's like, I had a dream about him. It's a very slippery slope and all crimes escalate. You would rather be with this other dude than with your partner. You're telling him things that you actually don't tell your partner anymore. And we see this a lot in reverse, right? We see men do this too. When the love of my life, person I thought was going to be my life partner, cheated on me multiple times, what fucked me up was never it was never the sex. It was never the sex. Never. It was the intimacy. It was, he's excited when the phone chimes and it's her. I'm going to like start to cry even thinking about it now. Like it makes me, it's painful. It's painful. Because it's like, that belonged to us. That belonged to us. Like, you're excited over someone. It's the vibe. It's the hunt. It's seeing her across the bar and being like, oh, yeah. It's hand holding. I'd rather my boyfriend fuck 100 prostitutes than hold hands with one woman. And I know that you guys feel that. Sorry, this came out of nowhere. I'm like ovulating, so who knows? My body's like, it's rage against you. But for men, it's the opposite. Men don't have as much of a problem with their woman having an emotional affair because men define love and cheating in surrounded of sex. That's how they define that, right? So for them, and we know dudes like this. It's like, well, okay, she sucked my dick, but like we didn't have sex. And you're like, I don't care. That is not, what are these technicalities you've made up in your mind that are going to matter to me? I had a guy one time, he was my friend, like we had dated, and then like I cut him off because he was a fuckboy. He was young and he was an idiot. But we like stayed friends and everything. And he got a girlfriend and every so often he'd come like, this is a long, long, long time ago. I was young and dumb. He was too. But he'd come like slithering around my doorstep. And we like made out one night and he's like, but I can't have sex. I that's too far. And I'm like, you are a dead man walking right now. Do you get that? Whether you put your tongue in my mouth or your whatever in my whatever, honey, you're a dead man. You're a dead man for texting me. You're a dead man for texting me. That's going to hurt her more than anything we do physically. So you might as well just put out. Right? It's like, I'm not the side chick anymore. But I'm like, that's how women think. It's like, I don't care that you didn't do anal. That makes no difference to me. The fact that you had this emotional connection with someone, right? But men are like, I don't know, she's got this work husband, whatever. Don't you fucking touch him though. And you're like, I won't. I'm just going to fantasize about him when we're having sex. I'm going to confide in him everything that you're not giving to me. I'm going to like dream about running away with him. I'm going to work extra hours to be around him. But no, I won't have sex with him. Whatever. So how does this happen? Like, how do we get to these places? Well, emotional cheating happens when you're in a dull, boring part of your relationship. And for different people, that stage hits at completely different times. Sometimes it's after 2 years. Sometimes it's after 2 months. You can't accurately figure out when your partner has hit that stage if you don't know when you hit it yourself. I know that I hit not like a boredom stage and not a cheating stage, but just like my honeymoon stage where I'm just like, is 3 to 4 months, you know? And that has been difficult in the past because that's when the guys are getting really serious. And I'm like, you again. I don't cheat, but I just feel like the downshift, okay? For some people, that's a year. For some, it's 2 years. And for me in the past, it's been a year and a half too. It changes. But we have to constantly check in with ourselves and be like, okay, am I in the doldrums right now? Because if I am, I bet my partner is. It takes 2 people to have a passionate relationship. And if you don't have that, if you're not having sex, if you're nagging more than you're sharing and communicating, if your relationship is funneled down to like day-to-day duties, taking care of the dog and babysitting the kids or whatever, if it's very like roommate-ish, there is no possible way that your partner is like, no, this is great. I am super passionate. I don't think so. Another crucial thing you need is a joint hobby. This sounds silly. My mom, when she had patients, when she was still working, and a lot of her patients were old, and the ones who were married, she's like, what's your secret? She would ask them all, like, what is your secret to a long, happy marriage? And some of them be like, we are not happily married. She's like, all right, thank you, Gladys. But the ones who were, she's like, we danced. They all had that in common. They danced. Dancing is intimate. It's physical. It releases endorphins. It's something you can do at home, something you can do on vacation. You can show off to your friends. But there was a thing that they all did in common. Some played bridge. Some went on like road trips and they RV'd. But there was a thing. If you don't have a thing with your partner, he's going to find that thing someplace else. This isn't victim blaming, right? But when we encounter a cheating situation, I mean, on one hand, happy people don't cheat. But on the other, it's not the woman's fault that a guy does. Like if he's just a horny son of a bitch, you know what? You are better off with just a horny son of a bitch. Again, I would rather have my boyfriend fuck 100 prostitutes. Fine, you just need to stick it in something, use a condom, whatever, leave me out of this. Then have this emotional void that he's getting from his work wife. It's awful. So if you're in this situation and there is an emotional, as you define it, an emotional affair, here's what you do, okay? First of all, we always ask ourselves, how can we get back to a good place? How can, I want to trust him again, and how can I get past this? My question is for you. Is he asking you to? Is he? Well, yeah. I mean, he's like, I don't want you to leave, and this is a mistake. That's not the same thing as I have understood why this hurt you. I have empathy for the pain I have caused you. Not, I'm sorry you're in pain. I caused you this pain. Here's some awareness from me about what drove me there. I felt like our relationship had stagnated. We don't have sex anymore. You seem annoyed with me. You nag me. It makes me not want to communicate with you. There's a lack of intimacy. Some sort of self-awareness. He has to acknowledge that how and why this hurt you. Not just like, well, I'm sorry, Kristen. I know, sorry. You're just making too big of a deal of this. Again, men see cheating in terms of sex. Women see it in terms of emotion. And if he's gaslighting you, you're making too big of a deal of this. He's not sorry. Those are not the words of a person who is full of remorse. Certainly not the words of a person who understands what this has done to you, what you picture in your mind, and why it's so corrosive. And if he's not sorry, you're done. You're dead in the water. You are dead in the water. Because what are you building? What are you rebuilding on top of? Not a foundation of care and concern or plugged inness. You're building on top of what? Like threats? Like stagnation? Just inertia? Like, whoa, we've been together. I don't want to get divorced. We've got the kids. Wow. Is that a Hallmark card? Did you get that from Lord Byron sonnet? The fuck is that supposed to be? If it's simply too much trouble to leave me, let me help you with that. You don't want to hear that. So we have to be very sure to read between the lines of what someone is saying. It's like I always tell you guys, when you submit questions to me, it's like, it almost never comes down to, I didn't know and I thought things were going to be better and I thought he was sorry. No, it comes down to, I knew. He told me. He was clear. And I talked myself into a different outcome. We are always our own co-conspirator. We are always the one breaking our own hearts. When we're honest about it, there were red flags. There was the writing on the wall. We didn't see him. We didn't read it. Here we are. So if this man is not offering up any sort of self-awareness or even real remorse, leave. One thing I've learned about emotional affairs, as someone who has been the cheatee and as someone who has had them when I was in relationships, when I was younger, it's never just one. It's never just one. Because the person cheating, emotionally cheating, gets addicted to that newness. Who doesn't get addicted to the best part of a relationship, the falling in love, getting to know you? All my stories are still so funny. They don't know all my moves. I'm discovering them sexually or even just thinking about discovering them sexually. What do we say the two main reasons are that people cheat? To explore different sides of their personality and to feel alive. With this work wife, she doesn't know anything about me. I can be whoever I want. She's not going to nag me about the dishwasher or picking up the dog poop. She doesn't know any of that about me. She thinks I'm just like smart and strong and capable and making spreadsheets. My wife thinks I'm an idiot, right? And once you dip your toe in that, once a guy, or us, dips our toes in that feeling of rebirth, excitement, the highs and the lows, even though there are lows, of course, it's a drug. It's a drug. Being single, the highs are high, the lows are low. Being in a relationship is very steady, which can be boring. That's the downside. People who have emotional affairs, they're getting all of those things. They're getting the stability of a long-term relationship, the ride or die bitch, cooking his dinner, folding his socks, and the thrill and the excitement of the emotional connection. And as we know, like I said, that will almost always, at some point or another, lead to a sexual one, which is the worst kind of physical cheating because there's so much emotion behind it. That's an affair. They're leaving you for their mistress. You know what? I'm in love with her. Sorry, I'm not giving her up. Again, go bang a prostitute. Go bang a prostitute. But we know now, what we know about emotional affairs, it's not about the sex. It's not about the in-out. It's about what they're not getting from the relationship. So this is step 2 of how you get over it. No, I guess this isn't step 2. This is like, we're going to do all this stuff. You have to recognize that this is grave. This is serious. And that was kind of step 1. It's like, if he's just like, I don't know, what's the big deal? Don't you love how I do that accent for like idiot move? I don't know, Crystal. NASCAR's on. Fuck. If he doesn't get the gravity of this, there's nowhere else to go. If you had a broken bone sticking out through the skin, you went to the doctor and they're like, I don't know, I guess it looks fine. Just take some pills or something. You'd be like, that's a shitty doctor. Where do we go from here? What's the prognosis? So they got to acknowledge that it's serious. You have to acknowledge that it's serious too. Don't brush it under the rug. I say all the time, like the guys I date, you shouldn't have female friends. I mean, if they're like long-term or something, but I don't want you making female friends. Why do you need to do that? No, I'm not making guy friends. I'm not just collecting random men to have in my life. I don't do that. I walk it like I talk it. Next thing you have to do, whoever this other bitch is, has to be cut off. She has to be cut off. That is absolutely non-negotiable. If this was a physical cheating, you wouldn't be like, well, they can still go to Applebee's. No. And a lot of times the emotional affairs happen with people they have to interact with. A baby mama, a coworker. You know what? They can figure it out. And it might be difficult for a time. Oh, the intern's going to have to talk to her for me. I'm going to have my mom go pick up the kids so I don't interact with her. Yeah, you might have to do that. If he's not willing to do that, you're going to have to reassess how badly he actually wants to make things work with you. Or if he's just sort of waiting for the outcome that so many men do, we dump ourselves. He's just going to make it so untenable for you to be in this situation, this relationship, that you just do the hard work. And my God, I hate men like that. They're the most disgusting men on the planet. Disgusting. I can't remember the last girl I know who got dumped. I can't. I know girls who get ghosted. I know girls who are in a situationship that's so unbearable, they have to leave him. But a guy coming to a girl and be like, you know what? I'm so sorry. This just isn't working. I don't hear about that often. Step number 3. This one's tough. This is the toughest one. Rekindle that intimacy. I know. Your skin is crawling thinking about him. The last thing you want to do is open up and here's how I feel. Let's go on long walks and take up dancing. Get the fuck away from me. If that's how you feel, then that's valid, but get the fuck away from him. If you're like, I can't get past this, that's fine. You don't have to, but you also can't stay in it, right? You can't stick around and torture him. The consequence for cheating is you leave. The consequence is not you stick around and torture him forever and also torture yourself. Be honest with yourself about whether or not you can get past it. You don't have to, but then go. But if you don't want this to happen again, you have to sit him down, look him in the eye and be like, what needs were you not getting met that she did meet? Was it just novelty? And really listen and don't take it personally. Really try to listen. Maybe have him write it down or something like that. Tell his mom, she can tell you. And if a lot of times it's novelty, things are just boring. You're nagging me too much. Don't get defensive. Hear him out. Be like, okay, I'm going to take a few days to process this. I'm going to go visit my sister. Go let the dust settle. Bring that list of concerns to someone you trust who knows you both and say, do I nag? Your sister will be like, Kim, yes, dude. Okay. Again, it's not victim blaming, but we have to keep our side of the street clean if we want to maintain healthy relationships. And if we don't, if we're like, I had nothing to do with this. Hello, victim narrative. You sound like a lot of fun to be in a relationship with. And look, this kind of growth and self-awareness, it's not going to happen overnight. Of course not. You're still in the storm. You're in misery. Take time apart. You can't start to immediately work on something. You break that bone, you're in a cast for a while. Nothing's moving. Then you do physical therapy. Once everything has settled, the inflammation has gone down, you're in a more stable place physically. Apply that to emotions. The next thing you have to do, if you really are determined to forgive and forget, I mean, who forgets, but forgive and you want to stay in this, set a list of behaviors and things he has to do in order to foster that trust and build it up. Make it specific, because we talk all the time. Like, guys are very logistical. You know, it's like, well, what do you mean I'm not your priority? Like, you have to say, okay, that means you're home every night at 7 for dinner, rain or shine. That will show me I'm a priority, okay? You get me flowers and a card on my birthday, I don't have to ask. You remember anniversaries, whatever it might be. So you come up with whatever it is you need in order to feel stable and safe in that relationship. I need to go through your phone every night. I need to be there if I know you're going to drop something off at your baby mom's house. I need to look at your browser history, okay? But then you have to stick to it. You can't be like, but I haven't seen your Apple Watch or whatever it is. Like, let me look at your Fitbit. Hey, you set these parameters, you agree on them, you don't renege on that contract, and he won't either, right? After a few months or a few weeks, you'll be like, okay, I feel good about this. I don't need to check your phone. I do feel a little hinky about this poker night you go to with your friends. But look, do you really want to be a man's emotional parole officer? I don't. I mean, like, when I think about guys cheating on me now, I have so much more trust and faith, not in them, in me. I've been through the worst of the worst, and you know what? I'm still here, God's still on the throne, the sun is still shining, my tits are perky, my lips are glossy. Didn't kill me, actually. So I'm not going to hover over a man. What are you doing? Where are you going? You want to cheat? Go. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I trust that I will get back up. I also trust you will regret this for the rest of your life. I will be the succubus of summer nights that will hover above your bed when you sleep, haunting you until God takes you from this earth. That's what I trust. So I don't put men through paces like that. I don't do it. I make them look me in the eye. Are you going to cheat again? I'm a good enough judge of character. I can tell if it's a yes or no. Yeah, I can tell if it's yes or no. And if they're like, no, and they mean it down to their very DNA, too little, too late, usually, you know? So really look at how much you do want to invest in this. Because going back to what we said at the very beginning, if he's in this state of like boredom and I bet you're there too. And if that's the case, isn't life too short? I mean, isn't it? Isn't it just too short for this shit? If this whole pandemic year taught us nothing, it's like, man, tomorrow is not guaranteed. From the big things like, will I be alive? To the little things, can I go to Target? Target's a big thing for me. It's actually a big thing. So why would we waste our lives lording over someone, feeling inadequate, or even, if there's no emotional affair, in these stultifying relationships marked by nothing but torpor and inertia? For what? Because you have kids? Grow the fuck up. Seriously. Don't stay in a bad relationship and blame it on your kids. You think that's setting a good example for them? I'm not saying it's easy to split up. I'm not saying it is. But in the long run, it's going to cost you so much more in terms of your happiness. And what is better for your children than to see mom happy? I grew up with one happy, peaceful, whole parent. Thank God I didn't grow up with two miserable ones. I thank God every day. Of course, I would want a great dad in my life. Those weren't the cards that were dealt. So I had one awesome parent. Okay, I turned out all right. Don't ask my therapist. But you have to ask yourself, like, what am I getting out of this that is worth my peace, my excitement and my passion, my joie de vivre, my future, my trust? I bet you're going to be hard pressed to come up with answers. Of course, leaving is difficult. Of course. I've been there, not with kids. I get it. I mean, my divorce was as easy as it could be. You know, it was very simple, still agonizing for sure. But every step I took, I felt proud of myself. I felt proud of him. I did, so proud that we were doing something about a situation that wasn't working. And it wasn't working not because he was a bad person, I was a bad person. It just wasn't. And once I let go of the why, then it's like, wow, the path is actually so clear. It's nobody's fault. No one's the villain, no one's the hero. We're both the villain, we're both the hero, right? As always is in a breakup. And I was moving forward to my future, to a place that I didn't know, that I'd never experienced, that I didn't anticipate experiencing. I thought I was going to be married forever. But I knew whatever it was better than where I was coming from. Where I was coming from was not healthy. And where I was going inherently had to be healthier. It is always better on the other side. So if you're trapped in a relationship like this, again, is he sorry? If he's not, buckle up to do this again in 2 months, 6 months, 2 years. It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And you don't want to look yourself in the eye and be like, I probably should have got out 3 years ago. No, now I'm 3 years older. My boobs are 3 years saggier. That's great. If that hits home, if that resonates and scares you a little, you probably know what the answer is. Don't be afraid of it. Trust it. Trust the process. Trust moving forward. And if you can't trust any of those things, trust me. We'll be back tomorrow, Shalligators, with that video on A-Rod and J-Lo, J-Rod and A-Lo, whoever they are, and talking about how to control the narrative when someone cheats on you and humiliates you. I'll see you later, Shalligators.